Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes, okay? Math Made Easy in 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about simultaneous linear equation now with two unknowns. So in the previous video, I talked about we have two types with two unknowns and three unknowns, right? The two unknowns have x and y, while the three unknowns have x, y, and z, all right? So now we're going to talk about the two unknowns. I'm going to start with substitution method, like I promised. But I'm going to give a quick introduction on what the simultaneous equation again, what's the linear equation, just to help for those that are not conversant with it. So remember I said I presume no knowledge. So we're going to start from the scratch and we'll build it up to that. So first thing you need to know is that you need to first review all the previous videos, okay? The previous video going to be basic videos from the start, okay? For some of you, it's going to be it's going to be very new to you. Use that as a to learn that. Some of you might know all this, see it as a revision to just remind yourself about it. See it like Terry just reminding you of what you already know already. So now, a linear equation in two variables usually have infinite number of solutions, all right? So that is the problem. So if, for instance, we have y is equal to x plus 5, all right? Now, this, for instance, has infinite number of solutions for x and y. So that means if x is equal to 1, then y will be equal to 1 plus 5, 6. If x is equal to 2, y will be equal to 7. So you can keep on going for both positive and negative numbers. Now, but if we have two equations together, all right? If we have two equations together, and it's possible that they will just have one pair of answer for both x and y that will satisfy both of them together. So if, for instance, we have y is equal to x plus 5, and then we also have, let's say we have 2x, okay, plus let's say 2x plus 4 will be equal to y. Something like this now. Okay, so you can see that the only value that is going to satisfy these ones is that when x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 6. So that means this is the only pairs that can answer these questions simultaneously. Are you seeing it? So when x is 1 here, y is 6. When x is 1 here, y is also 6. So that means this is what we call simultaneous equation. Now, like I told you in the previous video, there are two ways of solving this, all right? We have the substitution method, which we're going to talk about in this video. Okay, we have the substitution method, and we also have the elimination method. All right, so we have the substitution method, and we have the elimination method. So I'm going to talk about the substitution method. In this video, I'm going to solve some questions about it, and I'm going to talk about it throughout the time we have for this. Now, the substitution method. Okay, the substitution method. Now, some people think always talk about the substitution method as the easiest. So for me, the substitution or the elimination method all are the same thing, but most students I've encountered prefer the substitution method. So it does not matter. If you understand the concept, you can solve it regardless. Now, for the substitution method, we have 7 rules or 7 steps to solve this question. 7 rules or 7 steps. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write down each of them, okay? And I'm going to pick a question and use it to follow the steps to answer each of them. So the first one is that you have to arrange the equations one on another. So that means you have to arrange them one equation on the other equation such that the x will be on the x, the y will be on the y, and you then label each of them. So that means the first thing you do is that you arrange the equations one on another. Okay, So that means it will be like the x on x and the y on y. Does that make sense? Then when you do that, then you now label. So that means you can call the first one on top, you can call it equation 1. The second one, you can call it equation 2. So you now label each one. All right, so it will be like, for instance, you have equation 1 and equation 2. All right. Now, when you're done with that, so you can now, the next step is that you now choose any of the equations. So you can either choose equation 1 or you can choose equation 2. But for this, I'm going to just pick equation 1. All right. So you choose any of the equation and make x subject of the formula, or the variable, one of the variables subject of the formula. Okay. So you choose any of the equations. Okay. So for example, e.g. equation 1. Okay. And make x subject of the formula. Okay, so you choose any of the equations. So e.g. equation 1, then you make x subject of the formula. Now, after you've made x subject of the formula, the next thing that you have to substitute the x equation that you made from step 2 into the other equation. All right, so you have to then substitute the x equation that you got from step 2. All right. Okay, into the other equation. So that means in the other equation, that means the equation 2. All right. Don't worry, I'm going to solve an example so that you will understand. So just be patient with me, just write this down. It will make so much sense in some couple of minutes. All right. Now, when you've done that, you substitute the x equation. The next thing you have to do is that you have to solve the new equation for y. That is, you're making the y the subject of the formula. So when you've done that, you then have to solve the new equation for y. So that means we're making y subject of the formula. All right. So when you've done that, you substitute to make y subject of the formula. Now, you've gotten a value for y here now. All right. Now that value for y, you now have to substitute it into any of the original equation, either equation 1 or equation 2. Is that okay? So now you've gotten the value for y from step 4. All right. So now we then have to now substitute. All right. So then we now have to substitute the value of y from step 4 in any of the original equation. So either equation 1 or 2, okay? So either equation 1 or 2. So you've gotten the answer from step 4 for y. Now you now substitute that value of y into any of the original equation for step 4. Now, when you've done this, now I move to then the next step will be step 6. So in step 6 now, when you've done all that, so in the previous one, we said you have substituted the value of y, okay, into the new equation, either step 1 or step 2, equation 1 or equation 2. Now, the next thing you have to do now is to solve the new equation for x, okay? So you now solve the new equation for x, okay? So that is, you are making, we'll make x subject of the formula. So now, when you now do this, you're gonna get the value for x. So when you're done with this, technically you found the x and the y. Now, usually I add this step 7 is to check, all right? If you need to, usually the this check stage is just to be sure your values are correct. So you check if you need to. Most times I don't check, all right? But here we're gonna check because I'm teaching a class, all right? So you need to check to confirm if to confirm in any of the original equations. So you just substitute the value of x and y into either equation 1 or equation 2 to see if you get the value that was being profiled or suggested in the beginning, all right? So you're gonna check to confirm in any of the original equation. Okay. So any of the original, either equation 1 or equation 2 from step 1, okay, with the x and y values. Yes, and that's what you do. So these are the 7 steps. You first arrange it, you choose, you substitute, you solve, you substitute, you then solve, and you now check. All right. So I know most people will say, oh, Terry, there's a lot of rules. I don't know what to do. We're going to solve a question now, all right? And I'm going to apply this step by step. So let's assume that we have this example here. Or let me use another color of pen. So let's assume we have this example, okay? And we're given this simultaneous equation, 3x plus 2y is equal to 8. And we're given 2x plus 5y is equal to minus 2. Now we're told now that we should solve this simultaneous equation and see the value for x and y that would satisfy this. Now let's go back. Step 1. They said we need to arrange the equations one on another, x on x and y on y, and label each one. So let's go back. So let's do that now. So step 1, okay, we'll do that. Step 1. We need to arrange each other. So it's going to become 3x plus 2y is equal to 8. Then 2x plus 5y is equal to what? Minus 2. Then we're going to label this one equation 1. I'll label this one equation 2. Step 1 done. Are you seeing that simple? Now we go to the next one. It said choose any of the equations, either equation 1 or equation 2. But in these examples, I'm going to be using equation 1, then make x subject of the formula. So we'll go back. So step 2, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to select equation 1. So I will select from equation 1. I'm going to select equation 1. So equation 1 is 3x plus 2y is equal to 8. All right, and we have to make x subject of the formula. So if you remember in the previous video series, I told you about equations and how to manipulate it. So what we're going to do is that we're going to take 2y to the other side. Remember I told you when a value goes to the other side, crosses over, it changes its sign. So it's going to become 3x is equal to 8 minus 2y. Then after that, one of the rules for equation I also explained that what you do to the left-hand side, you have to do the same thing to the right-hand side. So we'll now divide both sides by what? 3. Then this cancels that. So we now have x will be equal to 8 minus 2y over 3. Step 2 done. Now let's go to step 3 now. Step 3 now said, substitute this x value. So we've gotten an x value here to be 8 minus 2y over 3. So we're told to substitute this x equation into the other equation. So that means equation 2. So that means we have to now substitute this into equation 2, which is 2x plus 5y is equal to minus 2. So that is step 3 now. Step 3, we're now told to substitute. Okay, x is equal to 8 minus 2y over 3 into equation 2. So equation 2 is 2x plus 5y is equal to minus 2, right? So it's going to be 2x plus 5y is equal to minus 2. So basically, anywhere you see x in equation 2, we're going to put this value that we got of 8 minus 2y divided by 3. So that is going to be 2 into bracket, 8 minus 2y divided by 3. So plus 5y will be equal to minus 2. Okay, then we've done that. So now the next step was step 4. Step 4 now says solve the new equation for y. So that means we already have this equation now. We have to then solve it. So step 4 is that we have to solve it. All right. So what you do, we're going to open the bracket now. So it's going to be 2 times 8 will give us 16. 2 times minus 2y will give us minus 4y divided by 3 plus 5y is equal to minus what? 2. Okay, so now if you remember, we talked about fractions and LCM, so there are different ways of doing this. Then you can select any of the method you want to solve this method, okay? Okay, so if you remember when we're talking about algebraic fractions, simplifying algebraic fraction, I told you that the denominator must be the same. So you can go back and review the video of the denominator. So to make the denominator the same, I have to multiply this fraction by 3. So that means it's going to become now 16 minus 4y will be equal to over 3 plus 5y over 1 multiplied by 3 over 3 will be equal to minus 2. So the aim is that I want to make both of these fractions to be the same. Is that okay? So, and that will now give me, if I continue that way, it will now be 16 minus 4y over 3 plus, all right? 5y times 3 will give me what? 15y divided by 3 is equal to minus 2. So you can see both of them have the same what? Denominator. So please, if you missed the previous videos where I talked about fractions and simplifying fractions, I would advise you go back and have a look about this. Is that okay? So now we have the same thing. We have the same denominator in both of them. So we'll take one of them out. There's going to become 16 minus 4y plus what? 15y is equal to minus 2. Minus 4y plus 15y will give us what? 11y, right? Is equal to 3 is equal to minus 2. So, like I told you, what you do to the left-hand side, you also do to the right-hand side. So I want to get rid of this 3. So I'm going to multiply the left-hand side by 3 and also multiply the right-hand side by 3. Are you seeing it? So that this 3 will cancel this 3, and we're going to be left with 16 plus 11y is equal to minus 6. Okay, 16 plus 11y is equal to minus 6. So I'm going to write it here again. 16 plus 11y is equal to minus 6. So the same thing, we're looking for y. Remember, the aim of what we're doing is to solve for y. Then we take 16 to the other side. So it's going to be 11y is equal to minus 6. So remember, when 16 crosses the equal to sign, it's going to change the sign from positive to negative. And that will give you minus what? 16. Okay, and that will give you minus 16. Then it's going to become 11y will be equal to minus 6 minus 16 will give you minus 22. Now, you divide both sides. What you do to the left-hand side, you do to the right-hand side. So divide both sides by what? 11. So y will be equal to minus what? 2. Are you seeing it? That is it. We've gotten y. So that is step 4. We found y. So let's go to step 5 now. What does step 5 say now? Now substitute the value of y, which we got to be minus 2 from step 4, in any of the original equation we is that equation 1 or equation 2. So that means the y value we've had now, we have to substitute it into any of the original equations. So either we substitute into equation 1 or equation 2. So I'm going to select equation 1 for this, all right? So that is step 5. So step 5. So we're going to substitute y to be equal to minus 2 into equation 1. Is that okay? And the equation 1 was 3x plus 2y is equal to 8. So 3x plus 2y is equal to 8. So we're going to substitute it. So it's going to be 3x plus y is minus 2. 2 minus 2 is equal to 8. Are you seeing it? Now let's go back. What does step 6 says now? Step 6 says that we have to now solve the new equation to find x. Okay, so we've gotten step 5, and this will give us, we need to finish this up. So 2 plus times minus will give us minus, so it will give minus 4 is equal to 8. Now step 6 says that we have to solve this new equation to give us the value for x. So step 6. So step 6, all right, is we have to solve this. So the equation we have was 3x minus 4 to be equal to 8. So 3x minus 4 is equal to 8. We take minus 4 to the other side, so it will be 3x will be equal to 8 plus 4. 3x will be equal to 12. Now, like what we talked about in the previous video, you make sure what you do to the left-hand side, you do to the right-hand side. So we divide both sides by 3 to look for x. Then this will cancel that. Then x will be equal to what? 4. Are you seeing it? So therefore, step 7, we already know that our x is equal to 4 and our y is equal to minus 2. But remember in step 7, what I said is that I always advise students that are new to this, you can check to be sure that you get the same answer, all right? So let's select equation 1 and see if we substitute this, x to be the value for 4 and y to be minus 2, will our answer be 8? So we have to check. So we can do the checking now. So from equation 1, we know equation 1, we know that 3x plus 2y. What will it give us? Will it give us 8? So put 3 into bracket, 4 plus 2 into bracket minus 2. And when you press your calculator, this is 12 minus 4, and that will still give you 8. So that means we're correct. You can also try from equation 2 as well, if you want to check. You try from equation 2. And equation 2, what was equation 2? 2x plus 5y is equal to minus 2. 2x plus 5y is equal to minus 2. So the same thing, if you put x to be 4 plus y is equal to minus 2, and that will give us 8 minus 10, and that will also give you minus 2. All right, so that means we are correct. Is that making sense? So we see that from this place now, we've solved it using substitution method. Now, to be fair, I had to show all the steps so that it will be easy for you to understand for those that are new. But when you practice and you really know what to do, you can really just, with a snap of a finger, go as fast as possible. Is that okay? So that's how you solve using substitution method. So these are the 7 rules. You arrange it. When you're done arranging, you choose any equation and make x rid of the formula. When you're done, you substitute the x into into equation 2, you find the value for y, then you now substitute y. After you substitute y, you now solve for the value for x, then you can now check. All right, and that is that for that. Now, the next video, I'm going to talk about elimination method. Remember, I said there are two methods. We have the substitution and we have the elimination method. So what I would advise, go to the textbook, go to the worksheet, pick as many questions as you have on simultaneous equation and try the steps. If for any reason you can't solve any of them, you just send me a message, send me an email, or you can drop it in the comment section. And also we'll try as much as possible to solve that. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to see you in the next video on substitution method. All right, see you very soon.